Good evening. Can everybody hear me? I was having some technical issues at first, so that's why I'm signing on. All right. Okay. Wait to see. Good. Wait to see if anyone else is coming. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Still waiting for 5 more people to possibly show up. So and I see someone, Ed is being brave enough to show himself on camera, make me not be alone.
Yeah, I'm here today.
Yay. Okay, before we get into this evening's activities, which we don't have as many as we did last week, because there's a homework assignment that you should have all started with by this point in time, and there is only one assignment that's going to be due for next week, so it's a little bit less than you had last week. So we do have a little bit more time to spare. I did want to talk about a couple of things, and it's time for me to show some tough love for a few of you. I am an instructor that, I tell you exactly what you need to do. And if you're doing exactly I tell you to do, you're going to pass. If you don't, then you better make sure that you are, still meeting all of the deadlines, the conditions and whatnot. So this week, for week 2, as I was going through the work and everything of that nature, 7 of you did not take the quiz, despite being told about it. And I'm going to point out things again to kind of make sure to remind you, just in case that you may have forgotten where some of the stuff could be located, so you know where it is. So I want to make sure that that's not, the case here. Also, to help you out, I am going to, I don't know if I had anything official, but I am recording these now, and I will post the videos. I'll try to pause them when we have breaks and things like that, so you're not watching like blank screens and things like that. But I had 7 of you did not take the quiz. 5 of you did not submit anything after you did your first post in the discussion for 2 things about me and your replies. Now, some people did a certain number of replies, some of those. So 5 of you didn't submit a final Venn diagram for that. 6 of you didn't turn in the assignment application of Venn diagrams, which I had done with you in class and did 3 of the problems for you. Now, there was a couple people that got a little confused with it and said, because they only turned in number 4, because I said the only thing you're left to do is on your own is number 4. It didn't mean you weren't going to turn in the other 3. And if you looked at the rubric like I asked you to do, you would have seen that you're getting graded on all of them. So, make sure. And as I said, I didn't mark down how many people had that issue. I think it was like 2 people had that issue. Everyone else turned it all of them in, so everyone kind of got it, except 2 people misunderstood. So there was 3 of you who didn't enter into or do any of the homework problems. there were 3 of you who did not go back into the homework problems after we had our session together last week, which is one of the whole ideas of having this setup. Is one of the things we do in our activities together here is I answer questions you have on the homework assignment. So if you got stuck on anything, go back and fix it. I mean, you have as many times as you want to fix it. The quiz, your quizzes aren't timed. You could open it up and, and it's in my math lab. You could open it up and, complete the questions and then shut it down and then do it a little more the next day. But the due dates are the due dates. All right. There was 11 of you that did not use the practice quiz. That didn't necessarily work against. I mean, I didn't do anything like decide anything about your grades or anything based on that. I'm just noting it because there were some of you that did not do very well on the quiz, and you probably could have benefited if you had looked at that practice quiz, seen how well you were understanding the material. And if you saw that you weren't doing that well on that practice quiz, you could have went back and, studied over the couple of the things or whatever you might have had trouble with and performed better on the quiz itself before it was submitted. So I had a couple people, send me emails saying they didn't know this was due, that was due. I'm going to point it out to you where you can find it because I did this on the first night. I even kind of scrolled through it last week when we were together. I don't have proof of that because I didn't record last week's thing because it's a 3-hour session. It's kind of hard to record a whole thing like that, but I'm going to record them and post them. So like, if you think there's anything you might miss, you go back over it again. So that's one thing I'm going to make sure I'm doing. So here's the way it works about certain things about this. So 2 things about me: it's closed. If you didn't submit, but you got what you got. It's a discussion question. So, and because it requires you to respond by certain periods of time, sort in order to make posts so people could do their posts off of what you post to them, it really can't be made up, because I can't say, okay, people go back in there because so and so wants to do this over again, and they didn't post their first question, they didn't make their first posts, so go respond to them. It's closed. So you got what you got. Luckily, there is one assignment. One of those assignments is dropped automatically. Some of you might even see that because it'll say like 0 out of 0 on it because some of the grades you got so far, because like one assignment's dropped, one quiz is dropped, a couple of the participation grades I post are dropped. Yeah, one homework, one quiz. I think I said all those. So that's the way it is for that one. Applications of Venn diagrams. And this is the way it will usually work with any assignment. If you submitted it on time and just had some issues, you could resubmit it to get the points back. Now, that doesn't mean like from here on out for other assignments, I want you to turn in something blank and then, just to get something in there so you can say, I made the deadline so I get more time to just do it. No. You have to make a valid attempt, and most of you that turned it in did make a valid attempt on it. So if you're one of the people that misunderstood and only gave me the one answer for number 4, you can resubmit it and give me the other 3, get those points back. If there was something you messed up with understanding that question, you can get the points back with using the little bit of information I helped give you with that. If you did not submit by the due date, you can still turn it in, but you're going to get a 50% penalty automatically. So I'll take them up until the end of the term. So I don't mind assignments being redone because there's a math class, but you have to have made a valid attempt by the time it was due. Otherwise, I'm not just going to let you have more time just because I turned in a blank piece of paper or I put like a happy face, and I want something that shows me you put a real sincere effort into submitting it the first time. And then, once I give you some hints about what mistakes you may have made, then you go back and fix it. For those of you who did not take the quiz, one quiz is dropped. Guess which one's dropped for you? I'm not going to reopen the quiz because you didn't pay attention to what the due dates were. So let me show you a few areas again where this information has been given to you, and I've shown you this so that there's no misunderstanding about where they are. First one. Up here, maybe. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Oh, what happens when you have 3 screens? There we go. You have this course calendar on the last page of the syllabus I posted. And I'll go by and show you where that is again. Every assignment and when it's due is here. So you saw 2 things about me discussion, September 25th. I put a little star there because of the fact that there was a post you had to make by a certain date in order for you to get the rest done on time. Application of Venn diagram, September 25th. Week 2, my math lab homework, September 25th. Chapter 2 quiz, September 25th. They were all there. And you had that since night 1. Actually, some of you had it earlier because you already went through and looked at it. So that's place number 1. Place number 2. Now it doesn't look that, I mean, they were here at one time. You can always go back and look at it. Like you go back to here where you see these little dots on your calendar when you're in the course home page, and you can see what was due that day. But you can see right now, if I just like refresh this page, if it doesn't maybe re-sign in again, upcoming events. September 30th, you have to get your first post into what we're going to be doing tonight. And if you follow along what we're doing tonight, you'll get your first post done. So that's the other benefit of coming to this session, is that you can get some of this work done and get a head start on it, and with my help. That's the whole idea. But you can see here, October 2nd, my math lab homework. There's no quiz this week because we're not going to finish the chapter 3 yet. And then you have the rest of the assignment, do pizza and happiness go hand in hand, due also on October 2nd. So it's right here. So that's place number 2. This is the week we're going to do here. Your pre-session work, session work, and post-session work. The pre-session work and session work aren't going to have any due dates on. Well, the session work will, because that's where we usually work on whatever the week assignment or assignments are that week. And there's a due date for it, October 2nd, right there. And in post-session, my math lab, due date there. My math lab, where the homework and quizzes are, due date. If you don't know what the due date is, you're not looking. So I don't take that excuse that I didn't know it was due. You should. And if you don't, make sure you do. Because this is college now. I know a lot of you are technically freshmen. So you may not have been in school in a while, but you are considered adults. And so even though I've given you reminders, you are expected to know this stuff when this stuff is due. If you have questions about math and things like that, yeah, you should have questions, but knowing what due dates are due is something that is within the realm of all of your capabilities. So make sure you know when the due dates are. Make sure you get the work done by those due dates, so that you can be as successful as you can in this course. I don't want anyone getting lower grades because they miss a due date consistently, and if you're doing that, you're going to have trouble with other areas of the course eventually. So So that's the decisions I made about the assignments for week 2. I'm not reopening the quiz. You just have to take that. If you got a 0 on it, luckily the first you have a quiz that's dropped, that's the one that's going to be dropped for you. Make sure the rest are good. Those of you that didn't have this issue, I mean, you still have wiggle room to, if you have some kind of like, really, really bad week, you can still, have that in your back pocket. For week 3 so far. So again, I just want to kind of get an idea of what I saw. I mean, because I do look this stuff over because I want to get an idea of where you are, what you might need help with, and what kind of like questions I'm going to anticipate to get based off of how prepared you are for these sessions. Reading summaries. There's 18 of you enrolled in this class. 9 of you did exactly what you should have done. You went through there, you did the examples, you worked on them, watched the videos afterwards, or at some point. Sometimes it's like I can't tell sometimes exactly when you did each one. But you attempted the problems in the interactives and you watched the videos to like kind of learn from your mistakes. Cool. 4 of you did not even open the reading summaries. That's where your lecture material is. So that makes it hard to know if you're going to do the homework and try it. You're going to have trouble knowing some of that stuff because you didn't go over that information unless you read it in the book.
I have a quick
5
question.
of you, give me 1 second. 5 of you viewed the reading summaries, but didn't attempt the interactives or just put some answer in there to show you did it. I know. I could open up reports for all of them. I know if you've answered them. I know if you tried them. I know if you made more than 1 attempt on them. I know how long you made the attempt on them. So, if you so some of you like opened up the reading summary and didn't answer 1 interactive. Some of you may not need to. I don't look at that as I don't look at any one of these things as a single thing to say, I'm going to take points off of you for this, or I'm going to take points off of you for that. I look at them as a whole. Some of you, like, you didn't look at you didn't do like all the interactives, but you went and did the homework and you did well on the homework. You got a good bit of it done, most of it done or something like that. So apparently you still know what you're doing. That's fine. But like, for instance, I have the one person who opened the homework, spent about 40 minutes on it and got 0 points. Well, that person also didn't look through the reading summaries. Can you guess why they spent 40 minutes and didn't get any points? Because they didn't know the material when they went into the homework. So, those kind of things are working against you. So, so I noted here 5 of you that viewed but didn't really show much of an attempt on those interactives. 2 of you did show that you did you demonstrate your understanding well on the homework you did. So I would overlook that because the homework shows something different. Maybe you didn't have to go through every one of them. But I'm just saying that if I see that you're doing poorly on the homework, okay, did you look through the material? Well, no. Or did you open it up and didn't try the problems in there? Well, no. Well, those are all things that are telling me that, well, that's probably why you're having trouble. Change it. I think it was well, one of my favorite things I always like to say to students when I'm giving this kind of like, redirection. A quote from Albert Einstein. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So if what you're doing ain't working, try something different. I would try doing what I'm suggesting to do. Because I know it works. Homework attempts, 10 of you put in what I would call a good first attempt or better. I mean, there's a few of you that got all the homework done already. You don't have to go that far. But clearly you made more than a good attempt on it. I'm looking to see that at least over an hour try, or 50%, or some combination of therein. If I see like, oh, you spent 5 minutes and here we are at Wednesday. Yikes. So when I'm looking at coming into tonight's lesson, there's some of you I think are fully prepared for this lesson. Some of you could probably keep up, and you won't, and you have probably any questions you have are probably very specific, and you're going to get something from it. That's good. 4 of you are mostly prepared. Could have probably done a little bit more, but you're probably not going to be that far off. 2 are somewhat prepared, and 5 of you are really not prepared at all. Those 5 of you, you're going to, as we go over stuff, you're going to feel lost at times because you didn't do the prep work. And you have to start doing that. You have to start looking at it. I know life. You all have work and schedules, and you're being adults and having kids and other livelihood things and things like that. But you do have to find time to make time for your schoolwork. And, and I try to be as caring about it and as flexible about it as I can. But flexibility doesn't mean that you could just get to turn in your work whenever you feel like it. There are due dates. You have to meet them. I mean, I had a student. He actually had a situation. I'm just going to kind of give you an idea. I'm not going to point anybody out particularly, unless he wants to take credit for it. But he had an unforeseen circumstance that he was taken out of this class for certain reasons. He was like, disenrolled for issues, brought back in. He got caught up. It's possible to do it. So even if you have a bad day or two, you can still get caught up. You have to just make the time to do it. So, it's if something comes up that's a major emergency, you got hospitalized. Yeah, there's going to be different allowances made. Now, I didn't get any reports of anybody being hospitalized. I got some, I got some I forgot. And I can't accept those. Matter of fact, the hack would not even let me accept those. So if I got a reputation that, oh, he takes the excuse, I forgot, and gives everyone full credit all the time, I'd probably hear it. So any questions about knowing where stuff is? I know Jordan, you had a question. I think it was Jordan, because I think you came on for a second.
Yeah, you answered it. You answered
Okay.
when you were talking.
So let's make sure that I mean, I can understand maybe falling a little behind on the prep work, but I had some of you that didn't go back and do the homework again. So you did. So last week you didn't really start the homework, and then you never went back to it. So, I mean, I've already had one student who I had to tell because she missed the first 2 weeks, that she wanted to come back in, and I said, no, you missed too much already, and I can't in good conscience have you be brought back. You're just gonna not be able to make it. Something personal. But we're a late start class. I try to pace this as best as we can, not to overwhelm entirely, but we still have to, get a fair bit done in short periods of time. Try to make sure that each of those weeks that you're doing a little bit every day. Don't try to leave it all for like, I'm going to do it all on Thursday. Well, if that's what you're doing, make sure that you devote Thursday to getting it all done. unless there's a post that has to be due before that. We don't have many of these discussion assignments. I mean, I think this one this evening is the second to last one, if not the last one for this version of the course. For the virtual course version, I typically have more because that's the only collaboration I can get with everybody because it's all asynchronous. You guys get to at least come together once a week for 3 hours. So, all right, off my soapbox. Let's get into and start talking about the homework assignment. Well, first, I mean, we have time. Did anyone have any questions with anything in the notes? So I did see that some people tried some questions. You know, I looked at some of the examples. Some of you made multiple attempts and eventually got them all right. And then some of you made multiple attempts and never got them right. Hopefully the video helped out, but was there anything that still needs to be cleared up about something with that, or?
I have a question.
Sure.
So with the truth, at the truth table that that we have to do in the notes, I think it is. When I was going through it, I had to like look at it a couple times because when you're looking at the truth table, it confuses me sometimes because when you have to cross the letters over, that's when it starts to confuse me a little bit.
It can. I mean, sometimes it'd be better if you're working on it yourself, making your own truth table, try to do it on lined paper at the very least. That makes it a little easier to do. As you're going to see whenever we go through the example tonight. Yeah, there you go. When I go through and do when I do the one example tonight, you're gonna see I'm actually typing it in Excel to help keep it, you know, organized. But yeah, the truth table ultimately is how you're going to answer a lot of the questions. And usually the biggest issue that students will have, from my past experience teaching this class, and I see someone's hand is up. I'll get to you in a second, Evelyn. That sometimes it's the avoidance of using the truth table that sometimes causes some people to have more issues than they would like. The truth table is usually the better way to go because I mean some of those laws that I don't think you might see a couple of them. I think I get confused myself sometimes about where things lie. Did you hit anything with De Morgan's law yet?
Not that I have in my notes. I have self-contraction, technology, and implication, but I didn't get anything to Morgan's law yet about those with the truth table.
Okay. Well, that's contradiction, by the way. I thought you said something else like it. Doesn't sound familiar to me. But when you get to some of those laws, they talk about law of syllogism and things like that. Those laws are very, very, very specific, and they have to be, you know, you have to meet every single condition to use it. Sometimes the biggest issue is students will try to use it in a situation where they don't meet all the conditions to use it. They try to use it inappropriately. So, Evelyn, you had your hand up.
Yeah, on the last, I think it's the last part of the notes, when on the truth table, when we're doing the two falses, and I think it ends up sometimes, I think, becoming a truth, and sometimes it becomes a false, and some of that confuses me. So if you could go over that a little bit further, that would help me.
So this example here, no, I'm still showing the table. Is I still showing?
Yeah.
First? Okay. This one right here, example 3.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
able to get through it and get the correct answers. I just want to be a little bit more confident that I can apply that to future.
Okay, well, first of all, in these versions of it, and as you saw in the video, there's other pieces that you should really be showing as you lead up to the final answer. So overall, a bigger truth table is going to probably be needed for this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and have a bigger truth table ready to go for this. So let me move this over here. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Let's go to right instead of scroll stuff. Okay,
I have another question then.
sure, as I get set up here.
So when there's a like a sign in front of the let me just show you the note if you can see it. Hold on. I have this note here of when the number is negative like that, does that mean anything to the truth table? Because that part also confuses me.
Well, if you're dealing with truth tables, there's no positive or negative numbers.
Okay, that's what I had thought, but I just wanted to make sure.
So this one here is just a very, you don't even know what each one of these P, Qs, and Rs stand for. One of the things you have to get used to doing if you're making your own truth table is realizing how many T's and F's you need to have. And since you have 3 main conditions here, you're going to have 8 rows, 2 to the 3rd power. That's why we kind of did that one little section about, like how many different outcomes you're going to have. Well, there's 3 different categories, just general categories, 2 to 3 powers. So you're going to have, for P, you're going to have half of them be true, half of them be false. Here, just going to alternate true, true, false, false, true, true, false, false. And then here you can alternate true, false, true, false, true, false. You get writer's cramp doing this stuff, but yeah. So there's going to be some stuff we have to do before we get here. All right. So one thing that we're going to definitely have to do is we need to figure out what P and R is going to be. Okay. Well, P and it's an and statement, which means that in order for this to be true, both of them have to be true at the same time. If they're not, then it's false. So when I look and see P and R in the first row are both true, so that's true. R is false in the second row, so it's going to be false. They're both true. In the third row, R is false in the fourth row, and then rows 5 through 8, P is false, which automatically makes this false. Because they have to both be true for it to be true. Before we get to this guy here, because we have to do not P or Q. Well, we have to first figure out what not P is. Now, sometimes, depending on if you ever look this stuff up on your own, sometimes you'll see not P. Sometimes you'll see that. They both mean the same thing, complement. So not P is just going to be everything you see P is, it's going to be the opposite. So false, 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 true, 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 true. And so now I'm looking at these 2 columns. I don't care about the other 2. And I'm going to say, okay, well, for this statement to be true, only one of them has to be true. If both of them are true, still true. The only time it's false is when both of them are false. So when I look at the first row, Q is true, so it's true. Let's just stick with orange. In the second row, Q is true, so that's true. In row 3, they're both false. In row 4, they're both false. In rows 5 through 8, not P is true, and that's all I need to make it true. Now I can make an entire third column, I mean, another column of this over here. So, okay, I'm just gonna put another column over here. But another way of handling it, and the way it's a little bit, just I'm just gonna put like parentheses, well. You want to choose the right one, there you go. Choose. I just realized that, I did this one first. This one's sort of second, I kind of did this one over here to help me with it. This is gonna be my final answer. This is a biconditional. A biconditional statement is true only if the left side and right side agree with each other. So if they're both true, it's true. If they're both false, it's true. If they're different things on the two sides, it's false. So true and true, true. False and true, false. True and false, false. False and false, true. This is going to be the rest of the way down, false, 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 false. And so this would be the truth table values for your biconditional statement.
I have another question then.
Mhm.
So when they ask you to do it like multiple times, is that just like redoing the problem over again?
When they ask
'Cause,
you to do
like-
it multiple times,
Yeah, like in sorry. In doing the homework, I was doing this one problem, and like the way we have the truth table set up, it asks you to like do it a couple times. So that's why I'm wondering if it like if I don't know. Never mind.
I'd have to look and see what question you're talking about. So when we get to the homework questions, yeah, if there's any of one of those that you know of particularly, point it out to me.
Okay.
So I can see like, I would say make sure it is the same question. Because sometimes they can just change one little symbol and it's like, oh, all done. So.
Could you go over that again? If at all possible.
Which part?
I'll show you. Starting here. After you talked about that part. Can you see what I just wrote? What I
Yeah,
just drew? Yeah, starting there. And so first you went to the left to the orange P column.
well, I
Then you went
did,
to the right.
actually, I did the green column first.
Oh, okay. All right.
And so I did P and R. Looked at these two,
Okay.
and this is an and statement. Okay. An and statement in logic means in order for the statement to be true, the left and right part of this statement have to both be true. It's false otherwise. So when I looked at it, I said, okay, well, here and here, both true, true. Here and here, well, they're not, the R is false, so it's false.
Okay.
Here and here, both true again, so true. Here, true, false, false. For the rest of these, P is false. So they can't both be true once I know the first one's false. So the rest are just false automatically. I don't have to look at R at that point. I don't care what R is. P is false, it can't be true. Okay?
Mhm.
Back up, get rid of these circles down.
Teacher,
Yes.
when you place the truth value for P, do you randomly put T, 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 F, 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 or is there a rule to determine how to place the truth value to this?
Well, I mean, I'm using a shortcut to know how to set up the table because, I mean, what this over here represents every possible combination of true and false that P and Q could have, P, Q, and R could have together. So basically P, Q, and R are assumed to be these independent events. Whatever they stand for. And we're gonna get to situations where they represent something, This person has a cold and this person eats chicken soup and whatever it is, okay? So the way you set it up is, first of all, I mean, you take how many conditions that you got. How many independent events do you have? We had P, Q, and R, that's 3 events, 2 to the 3rd power. If I had 4 events to the 4th power, that'd be 16. So I would
Okay.
have 16 rows.
Let's say it was 16. How
Well,
would
it was-
you put the true and false values?
So say I had P, Q, R, and W.
Yeah,
Well, then the first column, I'm just gonna do half and half. So 8 of them will be true. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of them is gonna be false.
and the second one would be four true, 4 false.
Well, 1, 2, 3,
It's a
4,
false.
5, 6, 7, 8. I want to make sure I'm alternating them in some way so that I do get every possible combination. So I did 8 and 8 here. So the next one I'm going to go down and do, well, I'm going to go by 4s. True, 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 false, 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 true, 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 false, 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 false.
So we
So I go,
cannot,
I go down by like a power of 2 each time. So, I did,
so there's a rule, you cannot just put 2 true or false.
well,
when
this
the-
is this is just an organized way to make sure that you're getting every possible combination.
For
Because we-
example,
Because if you just put the truths and falses down yourself and just try to think, okay, do I have the one that they're all true? Okay, do I have the one there's only one true? Okay, it gets to be a little tedious that way. This is just a faster way of doing it. I mean, you can sit there and say, okay, I can have them all be true. And I can have one true. I can have one false. I can say I have true, 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 false, true, true, false, true, true, false, true, 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 or false, true, true, true. And then I can say, okay, now I'm going to have ones that have 2 trues and 2 falses. Then that gets to be kind of problematic because you're sitting there going true, true, false, false. Then you have to say, okay, I have to move like one of the F's around. It's trying to keep track of where they all are and making sure you're getting every single possibility can be tedious. I mean, the last thing you want to do is end up having, 2 rows that are exactly the same. You're trying to get every combination of true and false that you could possibly get. So, so this one I did 8 and 8. This one I do 4 and 4, and then another 4 and 4. This one I'll do 2 and 2, 2 and 2, 2 and 2, 2 and 2. And then I do true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false. So the last one I'm always doing just the alternating. True, false, true, false, true, false. That's just a shortcut way of doing it.
Okay.
It just helps it get done a lot faster. You're not going to lose track. And even here, I didn't line them up right. So yeah, it helps to have line paper. That's just, if you're having a
So
situation
teacher,
where you have
for the homework that we have, like the pizza, we have to do
we'll-
it the same way.
yes. And we'll discuss that when we get to that one.
Thank you.
Getting back to this part now. Here we have 2 other things. We have a converse, which basically says not. So not P. So I mean, it always helps to have it on the table before you start using it, because you need to have a column that represents it. So I just put it next to P. It's really easy to say, okay, whatever P is, this is gonna be the opposite. That's all it really means. Not means the opposite. So everywhere P was true, not P is false, and vice versa. And so then I looked at this with an or statement, which means only one or the other has to be true. So when I looked at P or Q, well, Q is true, true. Q is true again, true. Both false, it's false. Both false, it's false. For the rest of these, not P is true. So if I only need one of them to be true for the statement to be true, I already met that condition by not P being true. So I didn't have to look at Q anymore. This was enough to say that they were true. Okay. I mean, there's some instances where I had them both being true. But if they're both true, it's still true. If one of them is true, it's true. The only time it's false is when they're both false. Once I had those two columns, that's when I did the third column. And this is a biconditional, which is an if and only if. If and only if statement means this is only going to happen when this happens. It's not, and if it doesn't happen, it's not, if this other thing doesn't happen, the other thing's not going to happen. So that means that either both of them have to be true at the same time or false at the same time for the statement to be considered true. And so that's basically just looking at the two sides, because we're now looking at these two columns as we do that last part and seeing, do we have the same truth value? That's what a biconditional is. So we had this and this, that's why it was true. These were different, that's why it was false. These were different, that's why they were false. These were the same, that's why it was true. So most of them we look to see true versus false. Whereas biconditional, we just look to see, are they the same or not the same? Kind of just how you frame them. Oh, I was underlining those, so. The rest of them, they don't match. So there's only two places where the two match. And there's your truth table for the biconditional for this situation. Okay.
Professor, I think I got the gist of everything except for the P and R, where everything, the bottom four are all false, being that I know the first F and T deems it to be false, but then there's F and then there's F and F. Wouldn't that be, what's making it false and not true?
An and statement is only true if both parts are true. So don't confuse this thing with this thing. An and statement, they both have to actually be true.
Okay.
Whereas
They don't have to be the same. They have to
No,
be true.
they have
Okay,
to be
that's
true.
what confused
A
me.
biconditional, if and only if, they have to be the same. So I said all the others, you have to look at true versus false. Biconditional is the only one you only have to say, you only have to look at same or not the same. All the other ones you have to look at true versus false and what they are and how many of them need to be true versus false. So, well, not each truth table, each symbol, an and statement has its own rules because it has a different meaning than an or statement. An or statement means that one or the other or both. We have this one that doesn't get used very often with the bar, that's an either or. So that's one, it's kind of like the opposite of a biconditional. It has to be one or the other only. So this is one you would look to see, okay. You either have to have true, false, or false, true for it to be a true statement. Okay, we don't do those very frequently because they're a pain in the butt. And there's a lot of logic statements that really don't make use of them. But you have your conditional statement. Conditional statements are the ones that usually throw most people because as soon as this side is false, it's a true statement. Okay, because it's only, I mean, the only way a biconditional is false is if you meet a condition on this side and you don't get the result you're expecting on that side. If you don't meet the condition, then you're not expecting anything. It says, okay, if you guess this right, you'll get a brand new car. Well, I guessed it right. I didn't get a car. I'm mad because I was supposed to get a car. I got it right. I got a car. I'm happy because I got what I was promised. I got the question wrong. I didn't get the car. Well, I kind of expect that. I didn't get it. I didn't answer it right. I'm not expecting the car. So I get the question wrong. I got the car anyway. I'm pleasantly surprised. So that's why it's still considered to be true. It's like, I didn't meet the condition, but I still got the result. That's fine. Okay, I didn't meet the condition, so I didn't get the result. Well, that's fine too. I met the condition and got the result. That's fine. But if I meet the condition and don't get the result, that's bad. That's why it's false for that one and only one situation for a conditional statement. Any more questions with this one? It's so colorful now. Any other questions with what was in the notes?
What is the best way to determine how to assign a letter to some condition assessment, or if you have a compound and you want to dissect them in order to build up the table, truth table?
It really depends on what symbol and what conjunction you're talking about. I mean, so I mean, I would, if you have something more specific, I could probably be a little more helpful. Because I mean,
Okay, since you will work on the pizza assignment, I will understand more.
okay.
Thank you.
Other questions in general with the notes and everything?
For example, if you have an assessment and it's opposite, do you have to, oh no, you have the opposite of a negative of an assessment. When you do the table truth table, do you have to write two like non-P and P, or just non-P?
I mean, it really depends on if both of them are involved or not. So again, I mean, it's very situational. I would need to know, what statement you're trying to actually work on. Is there a particular truth table you're trying to work on?
Not really, but if I have a problem to solve, okay, I think I will see how you proceed to do the pizza. So
Okay.
I will be able to do it. Thank you.
Yeah, because I mean, there's not like a general rule of thumb. I mean, there's things you need to know how to do, like an and statement versus an or statement. You have to know what a conditional versus a biconditional. You have to know what how those interact with each other and so forth. But it really depends on how they're interacting with each other in the statement. I can't just say like, oh, you always do this. Well, in this case, well, if you do the conditional first and then you do an and following that, because that's the way it's kind of grouped, that's going to change some stuff. I mean, so. Okay. Maybe we'll come up with some hit some of the homework too. So any questions on any of the homework problems? Any of them would give you any difficulty or anything that kind of stumped anybody or?
I'm looking for mine now. The one that I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, one, I think it was like 13 or 14 asked if this is permissible.
Is it what are you doing to me?
Yeah.
What are you doing to me, Math Lab? There you go. Okay, let's see.
Maybe it's 14.
Let's see.
No, it's, oh no, let me get the exact number, because that's where I stopped at. God.
I found my question then.
Okay, let's answer Eddie's and then you can find yours in the meanwhile, Ivan, and we'll get back to yours.
Got it.
So what question do you want? What question was it, Eddie?
22.
22.
I got most of them right except for like 3, but I was confused like on why I got those 3 wrong, and I don't know what I did wrong with those 3, if that makes any sense.
Okay. I'm gonna just kind of do it over here.
Because like now that you had explained like how to, because like when you read something and when you explain it, it's like it's different.
Right. So we have that big statement, P or not Q or not R. Okay. Now, as I look at this, before I do anything, because I know I'm going to need them at some point, I am going to do not R and not P, because I need them at some point. Okay.
Not Q.
Or not Q. Yeah, sorry about that. Not Q. Not Q and not R. And I mean, if any of the if anything on the as far as making a truth table is the easiest, it's not, because I look at the Q column. It's true, true, false, false, true, true, false, false. What's going to be false, false, true, true, false, false, true, true. And not ours is going to start with false and alternate. I like having them in front of me because sometimes if you're trying to do too much of it in your head, it's really easy for you to lose track of like what you've taken care of. So the more it's in front of you, the better. So the first thing I'm going to do, change my color here. I'm going to look at P or not Q. So I'm looking at this column and I'm looking at this column. And it's an or statement. So only one of them has to be true for it to be true. P is, I mean, for the first 4, this is going to be true. because P is true. I don't have to worry about not Q. I don't care. The rest of them, P is false. So now not Q is going to let me know if this is going to be a true or false statement. Not Q is false in row 5. So since they're both false, it is false. Same thing with this. But for the last 2 rows, not Q is true. So they're going to be true. Even though I have not R right next to this, I'm just going to write it next because I'm more concerned about the or statement. Or not R. So now I'm looking at this column and I'm looking at this column that I just did. For the first one, I mean for the first 4, these guys, the first 4 in the green column are true, so it makes this true. And the last 2, P or not Q, is true. So it's automatically true. Not R. Well, in row 5, not R is false. So they're both false. That's going to be false. In row 6, not R is true. So that's going to be true. So these would be the values you need to put in for this one. Now, they may have even changed the symbols in your version of it, because they do sometimes randomize these. But basically, they're all true except row 5. Fantastic. So the questions that you see in the homework, and you'll see a question or two like this on the quiz, you'll have to do the column for that one statement, but that one statement might have to be broken down to its smaller pieces as you put the various symbols together. So realize that you may have other columns that you should really be putting into a truth table before you do the final one. If you're trying to do it all in your head, you're going to drive yourself cuckoo. So I'd rather get the writer's cramp. And believe me, you can't get writer's cramp from this. Did you find your question, Ivan, that you were?
Yes, the question was number 18.
Number 18.
I mean, I got it right because I think it was just mostly common sense, but I'm not sure how that we come to the conclusion.
Okay.
And I didn't read any of that language. Is it permissible? I didn't read that language in any of the text.
A restaurant dinner menu includes the following statement. All dinners are served with choice of bread or soup, chicken or onion rings, bread or soup and chicken, or onion rings and asparagus or peas. Is it permissible to select a single dinner with bread, soup, and peas? If not, explain why. Okay.
Yeah, that one confused me too. I was
Okay.
like,
So, that's that. Back to annotate here. Is it permissible? When I say is it permissible or is it possible, you just want to say, is there just a single possibility this can happen? Doesn't mean it's going to happen all the time. When we get into the last 2 sections of chapter 3, we're going to go into logic. I mean, is this argument logical, or is it a valid argument? for a valid argument, you have to have it work all the time. But for this, it's okay. They have bread. They have soup. They have chicken. They have onion rings. They have asparagus. And they have peas. It looks like you're spelling something that's almost swearing at somebody. You bisco up. That's a lot of possibilities. I may not want to make an entire truth table, and I'm going to hope that it is permissible at some point. But serve the choice of bread or soup. Okay. Well, I don't know if I want to make an entire truth table for this. You can have bread or soup. And chicken. Or onion rings. And asparagus. Or peas. There is an order of precedence between these. Ands get done before ors. It's kind of like the order of operations. Ands are kind of like the multiplication. Although they're not really multiplying anything. It's kind of like the multiplication. Whereas, you know, the ors are kind of the adding. Okay. Because ors just kind of just take both groups and say, I'll smash them together. If I say bread or soup, then I, you know, there's a possibility of maybe of both. Is it permissible to select a single dinner that has bread, soup, and peas? Now, the other thing that's also kind of weird about this particular problem is that, and sometimes my math lab is not the best at, or the Pearson book, the book questions are not the best at differentiating, because sometimes they have an issue with the either or and just the or. See, an or statement logically is supposed to be one or the other or both. Whereas in some circumstances, it's just one or the other. You can't get both. And here, in the context they're using it, is that these are either ors. So, no, take it back. I'm gonna make this more hard on myself. Let me erase a couple things here. It's supposed to be the ands get done first. But the way they have the commas. Yeah, the way that was right the first time. Because the way they're describing it in the context they're using, and in the context they're using, they're saying that you get bread or soup. And you get chicken or onion rings. And you get asparagus or peas. So if you get bread and soup together, I mean, you get the peas. Oh. There's no problem that I can see getting the bread and the peas. There's no problem I don't know if let me move it. No, it won't. Getting the soup or the peas. and the
So pretty
peas.
much you can't substitute from the order. You can't
Right.
substitute.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
think
looking at
that's
here.
how I answered it.
So you can only get one from this group, and this one's taking both. So it's not permissible to have both bread and soup at the same time. So I would say it's B, but it's because they're using this as an either or, and you're supposed to get that from the context. Whereas, under most circumstances with logic, they would either have to say either or. I mean, they really should say all dinners are served with a single choice, with served with a choice of either bread or soup, and either chicken or onion rings, and either asparagus or peas, if they're being fully logical. If they're using full logic notation and phrases, they're not. But they're kind of giving you like the context is they're saying if a place is giving you a choice, you only get to choose one. So
I have a quick question with that.
sure.
So it wasn't something that was part of the quiz or anything, but I just want to ask it just in case it is a question in, or I mean for the homework. I mean, I just want to make sure I understand it in case it is a question for the quiz or something. But if the statement was worded like exactly how it is still with saying like bread or soup and chicken or onion or something like that, and the question was, is it permissible to select a single dinner with bread and onion rings, but nothing else, like no asparagus or peas? Would you have to have an asparagus or peas there because it says and? Like, I don't know if that makes sense if I'm asking in a way that makes
I don't
sense.
know. I don't know if they're going to ask a question where you would say I don't want to choose either because maybe you don't like asparagus or peas. Yeah, I'm not too keen on either myself. So, but like I don't think they would ask it that way. That that would have too many contingencies like that. So I don't think I chose anything for the quiz that would, be that kind of tricky. But
Okay.
as I said, like, I don't particularly like, the way that the way that this textbook kind of like, glosses over. Sometimes it treats these guys the same and sometimes it treats them not the same because technically they're not the same. Not in a logical standpoint. And it gets to be hard to distinguish which ones you're talking about as which. I mean, it depends on the context. So,
All right.
other questions with homework? Maybe this is your time to ask.
Number 27 completely stumped me.
Number 27. Write the following compound statement in terms of the simple statements P, Q, and R. So P stands for I go to the office. I go to office hours. Q stands for I ask questions. R stands for my professor remembers me. Okay. So I'm just going to start literally translating. I go to office hours, P, and ask questions. And statement and Q. And my professor does not remember me. So does not remember me would be not R, because R is he remembers me. And there's an and, so and this. Since these are and statements, the placement of the parenthesis can sometimes be a little bit problematic. I mean, I mean, if you just go with the order that it happened with, I would probably go with this one, which looks like D. I mean, it could have also been this one. No, I just did the same thing again, duh. I mean, if it was just changing the parentheses. Oh, I hate the annotation tool. Unless you click on it, it's like, oh, I'm not gonna change over for you. But if you look very carefully, I mean, this one here clearly has the or there. So, you know, that's not the same thing as this. So that's not a possibility. It's B. No, not B. Duh. I have the right statement, just don't. It's P and Q and it's D.
It's D?
Yep. P and Q and not R. I go to office and ask questions and it doesn't remember me.
Okay, yours is set up different than mine.
Well, yeah. What does yours say?
I got B for mine.
Well,
and
what's the statement say? Read it a little bit at a time. Is it the same? Is P, Q, and R the same things?
I go to office hours. Yeah.
Okay, so what's in quotation marks?
I go to office hours and ask questions.
Stop there. I go to office hours
And ask questions.
and ask questions. Okay,
Or my professor does not remember me.
or my professor does not remember me. Now, so it looks like for this one here, I need to have the and in the I need to have the not R for sure. So this one's gone and this one's gone. I need to have the and in the first position. So this one's gone, and this one's gone. Oh, I'll take that back. Yeah, that one's, yeah, that one's good still. But I need to have the or in this position, which it's F. And technically the P and Q, because order of precedence, the ands usually get done before the ors. More questions? Or more questions on this one? I don't know. Yeah, here's your time to ask them. Ask them what you got them. Of course, if you didn't do the prep work, it's hard to ask questions. I'm going to remind you about that. Not ready for that yet. Just getting ready. Everyone's good on their homework. Everyone like had addressed the issues that they had when they looked it over and didn't, you know, anything you didn't understand is clearer now. I do a quick check here to make sure everybody's still alive because I only have two people. There's two people I know for sure is alive because they're on camera. The rest of you are hiding. So again, to remind you, if you want to do your reactions, they're up here. Go to more, choose your. I want you to give me a green check if you're good and you remember everything you need to have here. You know, Everything with the homework is good. Green check or a thumbs up, or don't cry. I don't need you, don't give me a heart either. That's just kind of creepy. Make sure people are alive. People aren't responding. Where'd you go? You got 4 of you and responding to anybody. Although Eddie's on an iPad. I don't know how well that works on an iPad. I'm just taking it for granted because it says Eddie's iPad. You know, there he goes. Thumbs up. Okay. So got 2 of you. Ain't give me anything yet. Where'd you go? Not sleepy, go nappy time. That's later. Okay, then. Let's give you guys a 15-minute break. We'll meet back here in 15 minutes and we're going to go into that assignment. Do pizza and happiness go hand in hand? See you in 15. We're about to start up again. You can go back to your reactions, give me a green check or a thumbs up whenever you are back officially. So I know you're all here. Especially if you're not coming on camera. I don't know why you're all hiding. I'm the one that has a face made for radio. Okay. So we're going to work on getting this first part of this post so you can make your post hopefully before you leave here today. Your initial post. And then you want to respond to 2 of your classmates. Okay. Now, before we get into, I'm going to hopefully take you far enough that hopefully there shouldn't be too many issues with the posts that we do get, but I'm going to try to leave it enough there, enough for you to have to try to figure out on your own, for there to be some back and forth between you and your classmates, so that the discussion is actually still worthwhile. So if I get you all the way through part 1 completely, then we would have, some, everybody would have a perfect post and there'd be nothing for you to make a comment on. So, because the last thing I don't want to have, because I do want to take a little bit of time before we get into the actual post itself. Now, the initial post is due tomorrow. Make sure you're aware of that. The assignment is due on Saturday, everything wrapped up. Okay. But you have to have that first post in by tomorrow so that people can respond to it. All right. Obviously, if you don't get it in on time, then you're not going to get any responses. So you like to look at those responses because you want to kind of keep them in mind. And plus any feedback I give you on the assignment when we do the sequel next week. So, but the post, when you make your responses to 2 of your classmates, and you can do more if you want, but I'm looking for a minimum of 2. Your post should be one of two types. Well, basically you're looking for some sort of error that the postee made. Something that they're not figuring into their answer, something that they may have left out of their explanation, something that doesn't seem to be right according to what you believe it to be right based on what you did. And hopefully you're pointing them in the right direction. So you're looking for one of the following. The post is in error and has what you believe is an incorrect conclusion. So you should basically, your post to them should be, I don't think your conclusion is correct because blah, 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 blah. And, give them an explanation that's clear enough that they could make sense out of it, try to put it, as clearly as possible. The post has what you believe a correct conclusion. However, the reasoning used for that conclusion is incorrect. So maybe they got the same conclusion you did, but their reasoning for getting that conclusion doesn't seem to make full sense to you. That's another thing you could write about. What I don't want to see in posts that you're sending to each other is, I agree with you, and that's it. I got that too, and that's it. I want it to be like a meaningful response. So, and sometimes you might even be able to go into somebody's post and someone already put a post in there. You can actually go off of someone else's post in there. Okay. Make sure you're using Netiquette, don't say like, I don't think I'm gonna have any issues with that. Like, hey, dummy, you forgot this. None of that, make sure that you're, being polite and everything as you make your statements, but 2 of those, okay? So that's the second part of it, but you do have to wait until everyone had a chance to post, and then you have a chance to look through their posts. Okay. So I would say, wait until at least after this 9:30 date to do it. Doesn't take too long to make two responses. All right. But let's work on the first part, which is, to get your initial post in there. And I'm going to go to an Excel sheet that I set up for this. You're given the following information. If Fred is happy, then Robin is happy. If Ben is not happy, then Fred is happy. I don't need comments about Fred. Sounds like he's like kind of like a psychopath. Okay. It's kind of weird. It's just a logic puzzle here, basically. Ben is happy if and only if Howard buys everybody pizza. If both Robin and Fred are happy, then Howard is happy. Assuming all of the above conditions are true. That's a very important statement in this problem. All of 4 of those statements are true at the same time. Is it possible for Howard to buy everyone pizza and be happy? The issue that I have sometimes students with this problem in the past is that they'll use some kind of reasoning that has nothing to do with logic. I mean, not logic as far as mathematical logic. They'll use like, psychological terminology. And I'm not looking for that. This is a logic puzzle. This is a math course. I don't want to know about, Fred seems to be disturbed if he's only happy if Ben is not happy. And, people seem to be a little neurotic if they're happy because someone else is happy, and only if someone else is happy. And, Ben wants people to buy him pizza. So the question is, so obviously, and as you see in the description, your post should include your reasoning for your response, including a truth table. So obviously a truth table is going to be needed, and you should probably either put a picture of your truth table in your explanation as you do it, which is why, I'll get you started with it, but I'm not going to go too far with it. Okay. Because I need you to make sure that you're filling out your truth table correctly. And again, I have to have material for the people responding to you to possibly find error, so obviously you're trying to avoid making an error yourself, but people are hoping that you make an error so they can find one. So we have to set up a truth table here. So I'm going to have to start off with, defining some events here. You can call them P, Q, R. You can call them any letters you want. Just make sure you know what they stand for, and make sure you're always aware of what they are. How many different individual events do we have going on in this problem?
4.
So you don't want to look at at this point, you don't want to look at the ifs, if thens, you don't want to look at the ands, you're looking for the statements that are being combined with them. I've been saying 4.
I see 4 too.
I see that Fred is happy. That's 1. Robin's happy. That's 2. Ben is not happy. Now, technically, that's not B, if I set up my truth table, I might want to have just B in there as the basic event and eventually make use of not B. Fred is happy is mentioned again, so I'm not going to repeat that. Ben is happy. Well, we already had Ben not being happy, so Ben's happiness back and forth. We've already accounted for that. Okay. Howard buys everyone pizza. We'll call that P. And last but not least, Howard's happy. So there are 5 smaller events in here. Basic events. I don't include like not happy versus happy because that's 2 versions of the same event.
Teacher,
Yes.
what do you say about Howard? Howard is happy
Yep.
and Howard buys pizza for everybody.
That's 2
So,
different things.
yeah.
Buying pizza and being happy are 2 different things.
So 2 statements, right?
2 different statements, right?
So we have like 1, 2, 3, 4.
We have 5. We have
5,
Fred, Fred happy, Robin happy, Ben happy or not, Howard happy or not, and pizza being bought. 5. So how many rows is my truth table going to need to start with?
5.
Nope.
Oh, can you repeat the question again?
How many rows will my truth table need to have in order to have every possible truth
Oh,
combination
2, 5.
to the 5th power, which is what?
Oh, 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. 2 to 5th power.
32.
22. Okay.
Now you know why it's like an assignment that I assigned for you to work on, over time. So, as you'll see here,
Oh, how do you do it so fast?
well, I typed it ahead of time. But again, the way I started off, there's 32 rows. So the first column, it's going to have half and half. So 16 trues, 16 falses. And then I cut that in half. I go by 8. 8 true, 8 false, 8 true, 8 false. And I keep alternating that until I fill it in and get down to the bottom. This column, I'd have 4 trues, 4 falses, and alternate those until I fill it in. 2 trues, 2 falses till I fill it in, and then alternating trues and falses. So it's basically like, I got my 2 to the 5th for the total rows, 2 to the 4ths, 2 to the 3rds, 2 squareds, 2 to the 1sts, 2 to the 0s. That's the way I kind of like keep it in my head. But that gives me every possible combination of true and false for those simple statements. Okay. And I want to come back to this for a second here because I have the apostrophe here. I'm going to put the tilde. I'm going to put this guy in. But you're also seeing here now I am putting in these statements. Okay, these are the 4 statements I have here. If Fred is happy, then Robin's happy. So F arrow R, conditional statement. If Ben is not happy, so then Fred is happy. So arrow F. Ben is happy if and only if biconditional. Howard buys everyone pizza. If both Robin and Fred are happy, although I have Fred and Robin, that doesn't matter which order they come in, then Howard is happy. These are the 4 statements that I have right here. And what I need to do is get each one of their truth tables. Okay. I will help you do 2 columns. Which 2 columns would you like me to help you with?
Teacher, first of all, the question is it possible that Howard can be happy and possible for Howard to buy pizza to everyone and to be happy?
Mhm.
So we should have some statement in the truth table saying that, right?
Yes, we will. But you're exhibiting an issue that a lot of students will sometimes have with this, because yes, ultimately, I want to answer that question. Okay. And yes, I am going to need a statement that says Howard to buy everyone pizza. But so I mean, I know there's gonna be a 5th column. And I'm gonna have to put that in kind of a symbol form. Okay.
Okay.
But the issue is, and what a lot of people overlook, and is very important to this problem, is this first part, assuming all of the above conditions are true.
Yeah.
Before I worry about if it's possible for Howard to buy everyone pizza and be happy, I mean, yeah, I mean, if I just looked at this side here, I can say, well, yeah, he's happy here, pizza and happy, there's pizza and happy here, pizza happy here, pizza happy here, pizza happy. I mean, I could just keep rattle them off. And I've had students do that. They say, well, yeah, there's all these conditions here that both of them are going out at the same time. But are all these other statements over here true as well? I don't know. We haven't looked it up yet. We haven't even found that. Because ultimately what I need to do to answer this question correctly, yeah, is that I'm hoping that what I need to see first is, do I have any situations? And I don't know if any of these are I'm just putting an error market here. Do I have any situations that I don't want that one? Ooh, yikes. Yeah. Do I have any situations, like for instance, that I have all of these being true? Because if I have that, then it's one of the situations I want to consider. If I have something that's, you know, down here, oh, this one's false, I don't care about this one, because it didn't meet the first condition. All those 4 statements are true. Because yeah, I mean, if I was just looking at this left-hand side, I got my 32 all combinations together, I could say, oh yeah, there's some situations where P and H are both true at the same time. But are they situations where, okay, well, all these are true? Is that happening at this one? Well, this one, no, it's not. And what if you find out that every single time you have all of these being true? See, this one here, it's like, okay, then if that was the case, I'd say it's possible. But what if that wasn't the case there? Oh, God. No, not that. Wrong one. There we go. This one. But if I was like the next one, I get down, I say, I found out, okay, this one was true. All the way across, okay. Will you cooperate with me, please? There we go. Oh, but wait, nope, they're both not true at the same time. And what if every instance of that happening, where they all are true at the same time, all these guys, Howard's not happy and buying pizza at the same time, then it's not possible.
Are we defining Ben not happy as true?
Well, that depends on how you're going about doing it. Because I mean, you have Ben being happy in one statement and not being happy. So you're going to have to make sure you know what the truth values for each one of them are. I'm letting B in this one mean he's happy. So I might want to have a column for not B and figure that out. You know. So that's another thing you have to consider as you do this. But that's why I'm saying you want to make sure that you are figuring this part out first before you worry about Howard buying everyone pizza and being happy in that statement. You want to find the situations where all four of these things are true at the same time, if they can be. If you find out that maybe they can't all be true at the same time, then you would have to be resorted to just looking over at the left-hand side and say, okay, it's a crapshoot. You know, there's some days he's hit, but if there's conditions where all four of them are true, and there's other conditions where not all four of them are true, then you only want to look at the ones that all four of them are true.
Teacher,
Yes.
can you remind me what P and H stand for on the truth table?
Well, I let the symbols be the Fred, the F, R, B, and H are each one of the characters being happy. Fred, Robin, Ben, and Howard. The P is buying pizza.
And H,
Is Howard being happy?
okay. Thank you.
Can you explain how to put the symbols in on our Excel?
It takes some searching, first off, but if you're in here, if you're in a cell, if you come up here to insert over here at symbols, you might have to search for them, but they're in there. That's the way I did it. If you want, you could do stuff like this. I mean, I don't care about it. I mean, you could just do like something like this for an arrow if you want to. Just type it in, or you can say, okay, well, that lets you do it as a formula. So, oh, you son of a gun. Let me just do. No, what? So I'll probably do this thing here. And then, you know, I get to do like for two-way arrow. This is a shift and 6. This is a shift and the key above the tab. Okay, so there are here. So you don't have to like go to the symbols if you don't want to. You can just kind of type something in there. You can draw it by hand. If you like using Excel, use Excel. That's fine too. But that's the key to this problem, is that you first have to figure out which situations, which of these combinations here produce all four of these being true at the same time. Because those are the only ones you care about. And that's what we're going to be doing a lot of when we get into valid arguments in the next 2 lessons. You're going to deal with arguments and say, okay, assuming this is and this are true, is this true? Well, you're not going to consider the ones where you don't have all those being true at the same time. You're going to ignore them. So that's why I said, yeah, it's important that you make sure that you meet all conditions are true. So again, the offer's on the table. 4 columns of these right now. Which 2 would you like me to do with you and for you and talk about as we go through them? U, V, W, or X?
I'm definitely
We
thinking X is probably one we should go over. It's probably the most complicated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we do one of the other ones before doing that one though?
Each one of these is kind of individualistic. I mean, for this one here, and I'm going to use a different color to help myself out. I might want to start off with F and R to figure out what that is first. And then I can worry about putting the, you know, that's my if statement and then the then statement. Okay. So if I'm doing F and R, I'm looking at these 2 columns right now. I don't care about B, P, and H when I'm doing this one. For it to be true, they both have to be true at the same time. So true, 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 true. And basically for the first, what, 8? It's gonna be true. Sure, one more. Center it. Center it, center it, center it. Blue. All the rest of the way down, either one or the other is false, or both. So the rest are Fs. So now I'm looking at this column here. And this column here. The F and R part is the condition part of the by condition of the conditional part of the conditional statement. It's the hypothesis part. It's the if part. Each one of these, if the if part of a conditional statement is false, which they all are, these are true. I don't have to worry about what happens to the other side. So true. All the way down. I wasn't really to put any real effort in, or these over here. So if this is true, and this is true, this will be true.
False.
This is true, that's false, so it's false. So it kind of goes back and forth. So
False. True, false. True.
and so there's that column filled in. I'll get rid of this one. One more column. Which one would you like? U, V, or W?
V.
B.
V. Well, V, I'm gonna need not B. I have B, I need not B. So help myself out, I am gonna do a not B column here. And again, you can set up your table the way you want to make sure you have these things in place.
Do I have to use the symbol or just write not B?
You can write not B. You can write
Okay.
NOTB, you know. And of course, I'm just gonna do the opposite of everything I see here.
So the not B will always be the opposite of the B.
Yeah. And so now when I go to this one here, I'm gonna be looking at this column. And this column. Keep it in mind that this is the left-hand side. So anywhere that not B is false, it's automatically true. So I'll put those in a while. Now where not B is true, I gotta see what's happening with Fred over here. For all of these, it's also true. So all of these guys are true. Same thing with these. Not B is true, and so is F. So these are all true. Here, not B is true, but F is now false. So all these other blanks I have left over are gonna be falses. But guess what? Since I need all four of these to be true for me to even look at them, I could say, okay, goodbye to you. I don't need to consider you anymore. Goodbye to you. I don't need to consider that one either. Same with this.
How about X and V, teacher?
You're doing those on your own.
Oh, okay. No, I'm saying this because you're crossing them out, so.
Well, it doesn't matter because remember, I'm saying that all of them have to be true. Well, if I'm crossing them off because one of for these,
Oh, at least one
that's
is
what-
false.
yeah, and like
Okay.
here, this one's false for all of these, so all of these are gone. All of these are gone. The only ones that are left. So I mean, I don't have to do as many as I could going through this because I can't, and these ones I've crossed out, there was no way for all four of those statements to be true at the same time. So they're not part of my condition. I
So
have
what we're
to meet-
looking,
Go ahead.
sorry. So what we're looking for is for everything on the right side to be true, and then also for P and H to be true on the left side.
Well, what we're looking for then, again, we do need another statement over here. We need to have, okay, P and H, well, capitals. Ultimately, I want that. But I only want it for the instances where all these are true at the same time. Then I want to see what happens. And all it has to, I mean, and it's only asking in this case, is it possible? When we start talking about in the next lessons, is it a valid argument? Valid argument means that it would be true all the time. When I'm saying, is it possible? I'm just want to say, is it possible for that one, for at least to happen once? I mean, so if I have like say for instance, the rest of these, you found out all of these were true. But you come over here and all of these are false except one of them is true. Well, it's still possible. Oh, these need to be brought over here too. So that's kind of the gist of how you're going to explore this. You want to get to the point where you can say, okay, is it possible?
Mm-mm.
But again, as I said, the biggest issue that students have had with this one in the past, now again, it was a virtual class, so I didn't get to give much, I didn't get the chance to get as much into this with those classes that I'm giving you right now, because it was virtual. It was fully asynchronous. They basically worked on their own. Here I'm giving you a pretty good start and telling you what to look for, and focusing on the fact that you have to make sure that, assuming all these above conditions are true, that you're meeting up with that. Because the biggest issue in the past is I had students that would not look in those situations and just start saying, okay, P and H could be true. And that's all they went with. It's like, well, you're not looking at the situation that you're being asked to look at. You're considering things you shouldn't be considering. So. Other questions? Yes.
May I state this in my layman's terms? If out of all 32 rows, if there is at least one that is all conditional statements are true, then P and H automatically will be true, then it is possible. So if one of the rows, if all are true out of the 32, okay.
Once you narrow it down to all the rows that all four of these are true, and I'm going to let you know there's more that you're going to get rid of as you go through this. Whatever's left, you just want to say, okay, what happens with P and H at that point? Like for instance, right now, before we figure what these are, I would look at this and say, okay, well, if this one remains true all the way through, well, these two are true. So yeah, that'd be enough to say it's possible. Now, if I go through all of these, okay, it's false, 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 false all the way down. Each time that I have all four of these being true, it's not possible. And it isn't like we're looking for a majority here. It isn't like, okay.
Teacher, in the truth table, oh, sorry. In the truth table, P and H should be the last column.
That's where I put it. It's the last thing we're considering, because we're right now, I mean, we focused, as I said, I want you to make sure to focus your attention on exploring the conditions where all four of those given conditions are true first. So got you started. I gave you two of the columns that you have to figure out. I told you what you're basically looking for. The rest is up to you.
I have a question, Professor. So the ones that you already blacked out, do we have to continue figuring out the other columns? Since we already know that they're not possible, we don't have
Nope.
to continue with, and
Nope.
the same, like as we do another column, if we've already like X them out as not possibilities, we don't have to continue
Right.
figuring out the rest of the problem. Okay. So it might save us a little bit of work as we go through each line. Okay.
The other thing I would say is, before you decide to exit out, make sure that your truth values are all right. Make sure that you did your if F then R correctly. Make
Gotcha.
sure that you did, that's what you should have correct, because I did with you.
Okay.
Make sure that your if B, if and only if P is correct.
Okay.
Again, this one should be correct because I did it with you. So, but yeah, I mean, before you X them out completely, you want to make sure that you did have them right. So you had the right to X them out.
Okay.
So we can work now?
Yes, you could do some work now.
Okay.
If you have any questions as you're doing it,
I have a
just like kind of
question.
speak up. Go ahead.
Okay. It's for the if and only if, I know like you can like, you're pretty fast with knowing how to tell if it's gonna be true or false right away. For me, like, could I just go over like the first box with you real quick
Okay.
on the chart? So, Ben is only happy if Howard gets pizza for everyone. So if the B and the P column are both, I guess I'm confused because maybe I did my Fred and Robin one wrong, but because that would be true for that one.
For the
Because
top, yes, I would
because
agree.
they're both true.
Right.
When you get to one, so for example, what if he gets pizza for everyone, but but he wouldn't be happy because Fred is happy. That's why that's a false.
Well, don't try to put them all together. Okay.
Yeah.
You're only looking. That's the other thing that sometimes students do. You're looking at this statement only. You know what you write, you silly annotation tool. I don't care about Fred, Robin, and all the rest right now. Okay.
Okay.
This is the statement you're looking to show. And so the only columns you're looking at are this one and this one, and you're not paying attention to any others.
How
Okay.
do I find the symbols?
So when I look at this, they're both the same. True. Different. False. Different. False.
Okay.
Same. True. Look, I even did more for you. I'm not doing more. And yes, Dorothy, yes. So long as P and H is true at least once.
Mhm.
But you have to make sure it's once you've established only the situations where you have the entire this part from here over, these four are all true at the same time.
Can you please black out the things for a second, just because it'd be easier for me to have all my trues and falses in the same place you do, because I have all the other ones in the same place you do. So it'd be
Okay,
easier
so-
to figure out that
yeah,
way for me.
Give me a second.
Thank you.
Professor.
Yep.
So I do know that the double-sided arrow is if not, the one-sided arrow to the R. Could you retell me what that, I don't have the other notes in front of me with the symbols. Could you tell me that yes, that one, what that symbol signifies?
If then,
If then,
yeah, and this is if and only if.
yes, okay, thank you.
Well, as far as if you don't, one, if you do have an account and everything with Hack, you should have access to Excel. So I would say, obviously you have to explore that. Because think you're going to where you have to go to get it. But I think a lot of computers do have some sort of spreadsheet on them. You can use that. If you want to type, otherwise get a piece of paper and write it out the hard way. I mean, this helps a little bit with some things, but yeah, you can. I would say though, sometimes in Word, the tables get a little hard to work with sometimes. but it certainly is possible. But if someone has Word, most of the time, if you have Word on your computer, you have Excel somewhere. They tend to, I mean, I think at one time they used to sell them all separately, but I think pretty much nowadays they're sold in a suite. So usually if you have Word and you have PowerPoint and Excel at the very least, I mean, if you have, and OneNote, I think that's like the minimum that you would have if you, for Office or the Microsoft Office suite. Although they might bundle Teams in with that too. I don't know nowadays.
Okay, so when we finish our chart, should we, when we do the statement, you said you wanted us to put the chart in there as well. Do you, like, should we undo all the black boxes or?
You don't have to, but someone might point out, well, you have like, this row marked off, or you have two, it seems you have too many rows marked off as having a, one of these being false or something, or that one of your lines should have been marked off because you have true for one of these when it should have been false, that sort of thing. Those are the
Okay,
type of areas that people are going to be looking for as they do their comments to you.
okay. And my only other question is, if we end up getting leftover boxes, that means there is a way for everyone to be happy, right? Or vice versa. If there's not any leftover boxes, then
Well, leftover box, I don't know what you know about leftover boxes. Well, the thing is, once you figure out these four,
yeah,
okay, that's what's letting you cross out the boxes, okay, cross
Yeah.
out the rows.
right.
Now, whatever's left, you're looking to see, okay, what's this one last statement say?
Oh, what is the last statement?
That's the one that says, here's Howard buying pizza and being happy at the same time. So.
Do we have to give some explanation on the truth table when we finish, teacher? Like interpretation?
When you go and make your post.
Ah, okay. So I
Okay.
build the truth table and then I draw my conclusion.
Right, so you're gonna say, okay. And now I would probably just like, take a snip of it myself. I'm not gonna make it perfect here. I'm not even gonna post the whole darn thing. I'll figure it out. Let me do the paste. There we go. Let me do the paste. How about that? I put that in there and say, okay, based off of my results, either Howard can be happy and buy pizza at the same, for everyone at the same time, or he can't because, as you can see, based on the truth table, blah, 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 blah. Just make sure what you say in words following your truth table or wherever you decide to put it,
Okay.
and what your truth table actually shows, say the same thing. Don't have your truth table say one thing and then you say another. That just, although that'll make it really easy for people to comment. It's like your truth table says one thing and you're saying another. So that makes it easy for them.
Don't trust what you see, but what I say.
Well, I mean, it's also a very common error. I'll have students that'll show me all the evidence to make that you should be making one conclusion, and then they make a conclusion that's totally the opposite of what their truth table shows. It's like, are you looking at the right parts of your truth table? So. But yeah, you can put your picture of it in there once you have it done. You can pick your statement and you post it, and people could, and then, you do your little post, and then some people make their comments on it, maybe, but you have to make 2 comments grand total yourself on someone else's, And it also means you don't go out and say this exact same thing someone else already said. Again, I don't want yeah, she's right, So, you're trying to find, legit, things that, that are errors in what they may have posted. Okay.
So on your table so far, that when B is true, Ben's unhappy. Is that correct?
Say it again.
On your table, when B is true, it means Ben's unhappy.
I let B stand for him being happy, because you see the statement over here, I have the not symbol in front of it, because the statement is, if Ben is not happy, then Fred is happy. So I let B represent him being happy and not be him being not happy. So the statement that you actually see, in that second line, I didn't use that as B. I used that as, him being happy, because he's happy when he gets pizza. So it was good to have both of them there. But that's up to you. And make sure, if you want B to stand for him not being happy and not B standing for him being happy, welcome to it, but just don't get confused as you go through it. See what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember you said that we had the option, which is why I just wanted to double check that I had it written.
Just make sure, that you're communicating that, you might want to let people know if you're doing the symbols, or if you decide not to use FR, because some people like using PQRs, S's, because that's the way the textbook does it. Everything they do is PQR, PQRS. I guess this would be PQRST. And some people like doing it that way, but it'd be hard for you to say, okay, what is PQRS and T? Dorothy, have your hand up.
Yeah, I've never used Excel before. So how do you get that bold line after the H and before the F arrow R? Like, how do you get that bold line in there?
Well, you don't have to make it perfect like mine. Okay, I have a lot of experience with it, but I mean, if you come up to this area here, you have these choices as your standards. So one of them is a thick bottom border as compared to a standard bottom border. But I went in and also changed my line style to a thick one. So if you go to line style here, I chose this one, or this is the standard one. So if I come back up to here now and say, okay, that's a standard line. So it's just a lot of playing around and getting to know it, but
Okay.
no one says you have to be perfect with that.
Okay, thank you.
I've been doing this for a long time, so I can make them look pretty. And Ryan, I saw you say you don't have Microsoft. On your computer, probably, maybe not, but you do have access to, and again, make sure you do explore it, because at least from what I'm told, just go
Hack
based
does
on what-
provide, sorry to interrupt, but Hack
Yep.
does provide Office 365.
I could not find out how to get to that at
I
all.
would just call the Welcome Center and they'll direct you.
Are they open right now?
No,
Damn.
yeah, you would have to wait until the morning. And also check your Gmail account, your Hawkmail. Just search Office 365 to see if you might have had something in previous semesters, because that's when I got my initial registration. It's good for a year. So it might be something that you never had to use and might have missed.
You should be
Thank
able to
you.
use Google Docs too. Like I have a spreadsheet started in
Yeah.
Google Docs because
You
I
can use Google Docs. It's an older one too. OpenOffice.org is another one. that people would make use of.
Are we
But
allowed to do
yes.
it on paper? Because I'm about to just do it on paper.
Yeah,
So is it okay if we hand it in with our blacked out boxes or columns?
yeah. I would just say, like, make sure that you're right.
I'm open. I'm open.
Where do we find the
That's what I was
symbols in
saying, 'cause
Excel?
If I was wrong, then like no one would be able to see what I did wrong type thing. So I don't know if we should or shouldn't, but
I would say if you're doing it by hand, and I'll get to your question in a second, Jennifer. If you're doing it by hand, if you're Xing it out, maybe make it dark, but don't make it so dark that you can't see what was there to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe shade it, but like not shade it to obscure it. Or maybe just use a highlighter to get, say, I cross these out. Whatever you want to do. But as far as finding the symbols in Excel, and again, if you want to like kind of just type like stuff in this that symbolizes an arrow or something like that, that's fine. But in Excel, if you want to put it like one of those symbols in, if you're in a cell, if you come up to insert, usually at the far end here, you have symbols. Unless you put equations in too, at times. But then it's like a search to find them all. There's a lot of symbols in here. Nice thing is once you get used to using them, they put the last ones you've used on here. You know, it's like, I'm a math teacher, so I have a lot of Greek and I have a lot of logic symbols down there. So. But you might have to like, you know, search a while as you first do this, but you know, after you get used to using it, and if that's all you're using it for, it'll stay right in this area and you can get them pretty easy at that point. So at least it'll be good for the next assignment because we're going to be doing something kind of based off of some of this and kind of like going in the same direction. So, but it's going to go more along the line of, is it a valid argument type thing? So.
I have another question.
Sure.
First box in the not Ben being happy. And if Ben is not happy, then Fred is happy. How is that true? Because I was just confused because not Ben is false on this one. And
In
Fred is
a conditional statement, if the left-hand side, the if part is false,
Yeah.
the conditional statement's automatically true.
Oh, I remember that part on the notes now, that if the result is still true, then it's true. Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's if the left-hand side of that conditional statement is false, it's automatically true. The only time a conditional statement can be false is if the left side is true and the right side is false. That's the only time it can be false. It's true any time else.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So now I'm gonna do like a soft dismissal. I'm not gonna like I'll leave this room. I'll leave this like Zoom room open until our usual end time. However, I'm gonna let you all leave if you want to at this point. If you want to stay around and work and then so you can still ask questions, you're more than welcome to do that too. But just before you know, any of you want to go. So we handled this. We talked about those. We went over any questions we had with this. And I got you well started towards your initial post. Okay. So your session work, okay. Your first post is due by tomorrow. Okay, so do make sure that you get that first post in by tomorrow. The whole thing's due October 2nd. And I see already somebody posted their first thing there. So cool.
I haven't opened the rubric yet. Is this again where we have to post it at least 24 hours before the due date?
I'm good, just about to do that. Let's have a look. Let's go to grades. I think grades will do it. I'm in the student view. And the student, yeah, my student view stinks because I can't, like, I don't, it doesn't let me score myself with anything, so I don't have anything over here to click on. You should have something to click on unless you go to the assignment when you check it out. But all the rubrics are here too. And do pizza discussion rubric. Make sure you do look over the rubric. It is available to you. The original thread was created at least 24 hours before the due date and time. If you make it a point to post it before you leave here or before you call it a night, you got to take care of that. Then it's like at least 6 hours before, within six. Again, the 6 isn't showing up there again. I have to make sure to fix that. Quality of the post. The correct answer to the question is given with a correct explanation. Again, this can sometimes vary for a lot of you. And in order for this to be more helpful to the rest of you, you know, some of you are probably going to maybe get a little lower on this one, but we'll see. And then quality of responses. So, but the reason why it has to be in at a certain time for that first post is so that there are possibilities for people to respond. Like if everybody was like, you know, doing it last minute, then no one could respond to each other, that sort of thing. So make sure you do read through this. It seems anywhere else that rubric's going to be that's actually connected with it. It should be in the discussion itself, but I don't know why it's not. Two things about me discussion.
When you get a chance, can you just go back to the table for like 1 second?
Yeah, I'll get there in a second. The topic in grid view. That's some help.
Would we be just resubmitting to this discussion again?
Well, as far as
Oh, wait, we just have to reply to 2 other people. We're not replying to our own, like, we're not.
no,
You
you're
not
finding someone
reply- Okay,
else's.
okay, that makes sense. I was thinking it was like the Venn diagram on where we had to put stuff in. Okay, that makes sense. So this is it for the
Right.
class. And then I already
Right.
finished homework. Okay.
The other thing for your post-session work is you do have that homework to be finished. Now you should. Some of you started it. Some of you actually finished it before you got because you got 100% on it. You can't get any better. So you got 90-some% if you're happy with that, you know. But you always go back and try to get that 100%. You know, try to see what it was you might have misunderstood and fix it and get that 100%. But you have until October 2nd to make any of those changes to pull it up to where it needs to be. But those are the 2 things that are due before you know, Saturday. So by Saturday, get those done. So like from between now and Saturday is your post session time. Get that stuff done, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week into prior to Wednesday when we meet is your pre-session time. So make sure you go through 3-4 and 3-5. Make sure you start into your week 4 work. You have the sequel to this. You might want to look it over, see like how much of it's still the same and how it's different. A lot of it's still, I mean, a lot of it's still going to be there, but it's just going to kind of pose a different question after it. And then you'll have, I mean, you don't want to start into the quiz or anything in your pre-session work, but no, it's there. There was you might even want to take the practice quiz if you have time to do it before next session, just to see where you are with that and if there's any questions you have with that. I mean, so it's up to you. But that's all I have. So if you're good with where you are, with your post and everything, you're more than welcome to leave. Otherwise, I'll stick around and field any more questions until the official end time. So if you're going to leave now, have a good day, have a good week and weekend, and I'll see you next week. And I'm going to stop the recording now officially.
Thank
I
you.
forgot to stop it before.